Hello and thank you for joining me. My name is Brian and my whole life have been a car nut. Ever since I was a little boy, I've been in love with cars. My first vivid memories of cars that just really caught my eye was the '64 Mustang. I was only 4 years old when I saw that car, and I can still remember today as it drove by the front of our house, and I just instantly fell in love. I've always dreamed of having a Mustang, but then I started seeing the Camaros and the GTOs and all the muscle cars. Guys in the neighborhood were buying the GTOs and they were racing them, and I just was more and more enthused and excited about owning a muscle car of my own. When I was 15 years old is when I bought my first car. I bought a 1969 Camaro with a stick shift. The car needed a lot of work. The paint was bad, it was fading, it was chipping, it had rust in the rear fenders, it had rust in the front fenders, it had a hole in the floor. It needed a lot of work. But my father at the time had a service station. He had a 2-bay service station. So we were learning, my brother and I were learning a lot of things about cars. We were learning to rebuild them, doing clutches, doing brake jobs. So I went to work for my father, and I worked in his shop. Worked there all through high school and through college, and that's where I just really learned to be able to do all aspects of a vehicle. And that's one of the things I'm hoping to share in these videos. I want to see them dusted off and out there and driven and enjoyed like they were meant to be, what they were made for. My first Camaro, I did majority of the work on it myself. I started doing a lot of body work, a lot of sanding and getting things ready to get painted. A friend of the family, his name is Ron Wagner, he had a shop, and he gave me some tips on what to do and to try to save a little bit of money myself to get the car ready to take it to his body shop and have him paint it. Put a lot of hours and time into that car, and just before it was ready to paint it, I wrecked it. I spun out in the snow one winter, slid into a sign and a couple of mailboxes, and back to doing more body work. The tail end needed to be fixed, front fender needed to be replaced, and so come spring I started doing all that work, replacing the fender and getting things prepped for the body shop. Got it painted, a beautiful forest green. Soon after I got it painted, I was broadsided by a drunk driver. So back to fixing it again. My hopes was to fix it. The insurance company totaled it. I negotiated with the insurance company to keep the car, and I was bound and determined to build it again. I was hit pretty hard on the driver's side. A friend of mine's mother had a '69 Camaro, a Rally Sport. Hers was hit one day, T-boned on her lunch break on the opposite side, not soon after I wrecked mine. So I ended up negotiating with her insurance company so that I could buy that car, and I was planning on building one out of the two. But with my love affair of Camaros, I wanted to save both of them. So I was on the lookout for another car, another Camaro, when I ran across a '69 Z28. Now, looking back on it, I wish I would have built the '69 Z28. It was the factory 302 and a 4-speed, but at the time I didn't really know that much about the Z28s and how special they were, so we pulled the engine and transmission out and sold the drivetrain, and I was able to use all the body parts off of the Z28 to build the two other cars. So in the end, I did have both cars. The white Z28 look-alike, even though it wasn't, I wish I would have made it into the Z28. At least kept the motor and transmission for that car. And then both cars had a 350 and an automatic. Both it kept and enjoyed for many years. My real desire was to have a convertible. I bought a '67 convertible and started fixing it up when I found the car that I always wanted, which was the '69 Rally Sport convertible. And that car I went on to build into a top show car. It scored 96 out of 100 at the Concours d'Elegance. So very rarely do you get a car go much higher than that in points. So it actually, believe it or not, tied for first place. My car ended up in second place. The car that won first place was 100% original, and mine was restored. So it only made sense that that car would take a half a point ahead of mine. But I was hooked. From then on, I have just absolutely loved working on cars. I love the muscle car era. I've done Mustangs. I've painted them in my driveway. I've rebuilt motors. I've put in transmissions, rebuilt clutches. I've reupholstered. I had access to an upholstering machine where I actually could do some upholstery work at some point. And little by little, over the years, I've just bought kits now for restoring cars and upholstery. I did a 63 Volkswagen for a guy that I worked with that I completely redid. He set the motor out to have it rebuilt, but I did all the body work, I did all the paint, I did all the upholstery, we replaced all the chrome. The car was gorgeous. I actually painted in my driveway. They turned out really good. The coupe, I ended up with the bumblebee buzzing across the fresh paint on the trunk lid, but other than that, it just had a few little specks of dust. It's amazing that a paint job in a driveway could work out, but with single stage paint, cut and buff it, especially with a solid color, they worked out great. I was pretty proud of the cars that I was able to build and do in the garage or in the driveway. Once I got married and decided to have a family, the best way to buy a car at the time for me was to buy something that was wrecked and fix it up. Could save a lot of money and build a car that I knew everything about. I knew that it was safe to drive, fresh paint, new tires, something that I can enjoy and be proud of at a very low cost. When I first met my wife, she really wanted a Honda Prelude. And so I went out and started shopping for one that I could build for. I found the perfect car that I could build in the colors that she wanted. The wrecking yard that I bought the Honda Prelude from, I had them deliver it to my house, and I called my wife and told her that the tow truck was coming with her car. She came out to see the car being unloaded off the tow truck. She saw this beautiful blue car from the non-wreck side and then walked around to the wreck side and thought I was out of my mind. So I had to cut the whole driver's side off of the car and rebuild pretty much everything about it from the roof to the rocker panel. The hinge plate A-pillar for the door was damaged, but it was repairable, and all the inner and outer structures of the rear quarter panel had to be cut off to the roof and all be rebuilt. But in the end, the car, I saved a ton of money and it turned out beautiful. My wife enjoyed that car for a while, and then when she became pregnant with our daughter, we had to have something that we could put a car seat in, and the Honda Prelude was no longer practical. So I bought a new Tempo. The Tempo at the time was a pretty nice car. This particular Tempo I bought with very low miles on it. It was almost brand new, but it had been hit in the rear. So I cut the rear off, put a new tail on it, and was able to have another economical, low-cost car that lasted through a lot of years and saved us a ton of money. So back to the videos. What I was hoping to do with my channel is to take you through some of the custom cars that I've done. I did a 64 Buick Skylark convertible. When I was finished with the Buick convertible, I took it to the Autorama, and the judges, I just happened to be there when they were judging the car, and they asked me who did the body and paint. And when I told them that I had actually painted this car in my garage and I had done all the work myself, all aspects of the car, rebuilding from the ground up, every nut and bolt, body off chassis, I ended up with a Special Achievement Award for body and paint. From start to finish, from the day I bought the car through the time I finished it and started taking it to car shows, I documented that car's build through photographs, and I was blogging and posting it on a website called v8buick.com. I ended up with a huge following on that car because all the work and the custom touches that went into it were a big hit for people to want to watch and enjoy and see what I was going to do next and how it was going to turn out. So I was hooked with that car and being able to share my knowledge with other car enthusiasts. The Buick blog that I had on the car, sadly, I had hundreds and hundreds of pictures that were all through PhotoBucket. And by using PhotoBucket, all those pictures were easy to just drop in to the blog, and that was accessed through PhotoBucket links. Well, PhotoBucket decided they wanted to start charging for access to those, and all of my pictures that I'd been using in my blog had basically been shut off. There was an image there that said I needed to upgrade my PhotoBucket and charge a monthly fee in order for those pictures to be used on the Buick website. So the only way to get around that was to have to go back in and delete all those pictures and reload every one of those images. There was hundreds of them. It would have taken me so many hours. I decided that I can tell the story through video. So my plan is to use all of those pictures and put it into a video format. I've seen guys do it on YouTube channels where they just show the pictures and you just watch as the car evolves. But I want to tell the story with a voiceover on how it was done and why I did it that way, and then what the end results were. So I'm really excited to share that on my next videos, and I'll walk through each one, and hopefully I'll be able to keep it down to 5 or 6 parts where I can show all aspects of the build. So my focus and my goal with my YouTube channel is to share my background and my history on being a do-it-yourselfer with anybody else that wants to get into trying to do this. Show you how to do body work, show you how to do paint, show you how to rebuild motors, do brake jobs. I'd like to talk a little bit about quick flips, whether you're buying something to fix and resell, or you're just buying something at low and reselling it high. You got to be careful. I don't know if you've seen a lot of the videos on YouTube. There are quite a few people that have been flipping cars. They're flashing money and they're bragging about the cars that they bought at Copart and cleaned up and resold, or maybe did a little dent repair, maybe did some flood work that just needed to be cleaned up, and they get themselves in trouble. A lot of the states across the United States don't allow people to just buy and sell and flip cars. You have to have a dealer's license for that. Fortunately, where I live, I can flip cars up to 2 cars a year. There's only 3 states in the union where they will allow you to flip a car. Most of the cars that I've ever built have been for myself. Been for me, been for my wife. We buy cars, we fix them up, and we drive them. There's been a couple instances, like the truck, that I wanted to flip for some quick cash, and in my state I can do that. But only up to 2, so I have to be careful. And I would love to be able to do it for a living. I thought about getting a dealer's license, but I want to do it as a hobby. I enjoy it as a hobby. I like to do it on the side in my garage. I don't want to make a business out of it. So if I need a little extra cash and I want to do a quick flip, or I build a car for myself and decide there's something else that I want, because there seems like there always is, then I can just sell that one and move on to the next project and not feel bad about it. There's one that I'm working on right now that I bought as a flipper. I'm falling in love with it, so I'm going to end up driving it for a while. I'm going to enjoy it. I want to show it off. I want to take it to some car shows. So I'll keep it for a little while, but I'm not planning on keeping it indefinitely. It's not going into storage. It's not a keeper for me. It's definitely a keeper for somebody, and I hope that somebody will enjoy it and keep working on it and take it beyond where I'm going to to stop. But that's another set of videos that I will be sharing with you. I will take you through the aspects of that build, from a 40-year-old storage to dusting it off, to putting it together, rebuilding the motor, and then getting it out on the road. So one day I was browsing and I stumbled onto a Ford pickup truck. It was a 1971 Ford, and they claimed it had 14,000 original miles on it, and it had been sitting for many years. And I just laughed and moved on. It's like, yeah, right, 14,000 miles. How many times have we seen that? 114,000 miles, yes. 14,000 miles at that price, it's just not very likely. After looking at several other vehicles that I could do a quick flip on, I kept going back to that idea of that Ford truck with only 14,000 miles on it. What if it really is only 14,000 miles up at that price? The pictures look good. It was dusty. It had been in storage for quite a while. It has a horrible, ugly camper shell on it. But at 14,000 miles, that could be a very desirable truck. So I called, and the gentleman that I talked to said it was his father's. His father had passed, and they were trying to sell the truck through the estate. There was a lot of arguments over what the value of the truck was. His sister wanted a ton of money for it, and he just wanted to get it sold. They'd tried to sell it on their own for a long time. They didn't know how to sell this truck. Otherwise, I think they could have gotten a lot more money for it. So I jumped in the car, I grabbed my daughter and said, come with me, I got to go see this truck. We went and took a look at it, and wow, what a gem. Seats were still covered in plastic, seat belts were covered in plastic. The truck was highly documented. It was absolutely correct with 14,000 miles on it, and the price was basically half what this truck was worth. All I had to do was clean it, polish it, and get it back out for sale. So that is another YouTube video that I would like to do in a series, or maybe even just start to finish with just that truck and all the pictures and images of how clean and perfectly detailed this truck was. All aspects of the truck, it looked just like it probably came right off of the showroom. Other than the camper shell that was on the back. I mean, there was not a scratch in the bed because he had kept a bed liner in it the whole time. So just a beautiful truck, and I want to share that with the viewers here on the videos. Okay, enough about me. What I want to do in my future videos is to help the do-it-yourselfer in being able to get out there in the garage, get wrenching, do body work, do paint, all aspects of having a car, owning a car, and then enjoying the car. So let's get these cars out, let's dust them off, let's get them down the road, let's drive them, and let's enjoy them. If you like what my plan is and you want to see more, please hit the like and subscribe button. It's a beautiful day to be alive. Let's get out there and get wrenching and be safe.